I'm off to see Dune Part 2 this evening, and this morning I was like really tired, rushed to get up, grabbed this top, and I'm just realizing now that I'm kind of dressed like Dune. Like, this is a Dune themed outfit, like a sort of business casual Fremen or something. What do we think? Right, that of you. Hey, so we have a little pre-Dune meal, which is completely unthemed, but it feels important to arrive at the cinema well nourished, because I mean realistically we're going to be in there for like 3 hours, which I'm afraid of, especially the IMAX. Like, my irises are just going to melt right off, because I'm a bit of a baby when it comes to bright things, and I've seen a lot online about how much like sudden contrast there is. A lot of like the brightest ever desert suddenly exploding forth immediately after a dark cave scene. So let me take you through the menu. We've got Chinese 5-spice sticky chicken. This was roasted and like meal prepped the other day, and then I chopped it up. These are thighs. We've also got some rice. It's currently in its steaming phase, so I will not de-lid. A bit of coriander and some spring onions. I have to say, I'm like the most excited I've been for a film in a very long time. As some of you may know, I read the book quite a few months ago now, and then watched Dune Part 1, not in the cinema, which was a huge mistake realistically. Like, it's such an epic film and you definitely get a lot from seeing it in the cinema. Some films you watch and you're like, this could be watched on like a original iPod shuffle, but some films, cinema it is. So I guess to make up for it, we're gonna watch Dune Part 2 at the IMAX in Waterloo, which I think is one of the biggest screens in Europe, or at one point was the biggest screen in Europe. It's a whole thing. Oh, this needs to be stirred. Sorry, I was just telling the vlog about Dune Part 2 and how excited I am for it. What are you excited for?
Dune Part 2.
What about it though?
I'm looking forward to seeing Fade Rauter. I think he was one of my favourite characters.
What, Austin Butler?
From the books. Sorry, you just cut across me. I was explaining. Yeah, no worries, happens a lot, so.
Go on.
Yeah, he was a good character in the books, I thought. Played by Austin Butler. Bald Austin Butler, you're excited for Bald Austin Butler?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people say that he's still a massive hottie. Are you willing to believe that?
The bone structure's still there, I guess. And yeah, it's fun seeing it in the IMAX as well, actually. I regret not seeing the first one in the cinema.
That's what I was literally just saying.
Yeah, so, and we don't have like terrible seats. I think we've got like decent, like reasonable seats basically.
I saw Oppenheimer when it came out in the IMAX, but my dad booked the tickets, so we were in the third row, the second row, and Cillian Murphy's incredibly parallax error stretched face was really odd to see, especially Oppenheimer if you've seen it. His face for very long stretches of time. So yeah, looking forward to a slightly better angle, even just for my neck, you know?
Yeah.
That posture's important. Anything else?
Some people said it's not that much like the books.
Really?
Well, there's some changes, yeah.
Oh, the rice is ready! Okay, we'll continue after. Where was I? So, I think the thing that really struck me with the last film, and as I said, saw it on a tiny screen, so take that into consideration, was the visuals. When reading the book, I found it really hard to conceptualize the scale of a lot of things. So the desert, the sandworms in particular, seeing them in the film was just so cool because they were so big, and I found like in the book there's a cap on how big worms can get in my imagination for some reason. So the algorithm's been shoveling commentary and behind the scenes down my throat, and there are a lot of details like the fight scene, infrared camera, the differences in how Paul is portrayed. One of the big things around the book was that Frank Herbert felt like Paul was received as like a bit of a hero, and he didn't want that. He wanted Paul to be seen as a bit more of a villain than he was. So I'm really intrigued to see how the film does that, and I'm excited. It feels like all the changes from what I've seen seem to be a really positive difference, changes from the book, that is. So
sorry, I live here. What's up, YouTube?
what are you doing here?
I'm just looking for my
causing a
stuff. I'm
ruckus.
getting ready.
Yeah, sorry, we do have to go.
Oh my god.
Anything else? Anything exciting?
For the movie,
Yeah.
big worms.
Yeah, I've already mentioned that. We're excited for that.
Yeah. Interested to see the Emperor and stuff.
With his, yeah.
Just what they do with him.
Yeah.
It's cool. Do you know Count Fenring is cut out of the movie?
Really?
Yeah. His wife's in it though.
Oh. Why did they do that?
I don't know. It's just
A choice.
because I thought he was good. I thought he had good dialogues. But I get why it was cut. Probably it's not like story, like critical.
Yeah. There's a lot of dialogue in the book that I feel like they've just.
They cut out like
job.
fucking
I know.
dinner party.
I know.
Jesus Christ.
Matty read the book after I read it, and the dinner I think the dinner party scene almost made you want to quit. I think you were in too deep by that point, but he was pretty keen to stop reading. He did enjoy it in the end though. Okay, to the cinema. Oh, it's quite zoomed in. That's not on. Matty's currently ill and being a massive baby, so he doesn't want to give his Dune review, even though he has a lot of opinions actually. He's had enough. Overall, I really liked it. I left the theatre just like feeling very in awe of the whole operation. Dune Part 1 on steroids. You could definitely see why there's more hullabaloo around it this time around, and I was definitely just like captivated throughout the film. To start with the main negative that stuck out to me, I thought that the humour, there's this humour in Dune 1 that I think I enjoyed a little bit at the time, and it was honestly just like tiny humorous moments, and I was like, oh, it kind of is reminiscent of like Marvel, some characters just kind of teasing each other gently and showing you that there's this nice little camaraderie between them, and I did like it. But then Dune 2, I feel like they ramped the humour up to a point where I thought it just completely took away from the film, specifically Stilgar's character and the whole Paul as the Messiah narrative, especially for the first 2/3. There was just way too much comedic relief in places where I just didn't think it was necessary, and it was a shame to see it there. So much happened in the final third, in the similar way to how in the book loads suddenly wraps up. Suddenly became incredibly intense, like suddenly the consequences of Paul being seen as this chosen one were brought to light, and you know, a lot of them were negative, and suddenly it became just a lot more serious. So not only was I not that happy with how much comedy there was in it, it was also that it like had these two really different tones that I just don't think they matched up that well. To go from frequently using Paul as a godlike figure as a bit of a punchline to becoming really intense, that was a bit odd. But honestly, that's my one main gripe. My other thoughts that I've written down here are just all caps, big worms indeed. As we both said, I was looking forward to the giant worms, and Dune Part 2 did not disappoint. There are big worms in that film, And there's something about the scene where Paul kind of is attempting to ride a worm for the first time. There's something about seeing worms described as grandfather worms that really tickled me. Because I'm just imagining worm family barbecues and old man worms with little walking sticks. Another note I have is just Florence Pugh is perfect. I have a lot of faith in her acting. I think she's proven that she's a really good actor. Although I'm not like a super stan, I was like, okay, I'm sure Florence Pugh is good in this. But then another part of me also thought, oh, it's just classic, you know, these films where they have such a big budget and they're such huge films. The cast ends up really stacked, full of massive celebs. Before I watched it, I felt like Florence Pugh just fell under that, and obviously she still does. Like, she's still a really big name, and that's a part of why she was in it. But I was really pleasantly surprised by how good her character was and how good she was in that character. And maybe a part of it is because Princess Aurelian wasn't as big a part in the books as she then was in the films. There's nothing to criticize against or to compare it to, but I thought visually she was just breathtaking. All her outfits were really cool. Overall, actually, I really liked the costume in Dune, and then the architecture, the Harkonnens, the costumes and the architecture around them in particular, I just thought was so effective at getting across the overall vibe of House Harkonnen, and I loved seeing that. Again, I don't think my brain was like capable of imagining such an ominous, violent, threatening looking building or outfits, so that was awesome. Overall, I'm pretty intrigued by some of the changes, where it's going to go, because obviously there's going to be a part 3. I'll definitely watch it, but I am a bit worried that part 3 is it's downhill from part 2. That's the feeling that I have. I did enjoy though how Chani is really annoyed at Paul. She was a bit more submissive in the book. That really modernized it, but I also think it kind of still. What do you think of Dune?
I liked it.
Is that all? Anything you particularly didn't like? I've already complained about the humour. Well, that's still there.
Yeah, still there. Kind of ruins character. So I feel like he wasn't that easily won over either in the book. I don't know though.
And they also acted like, or they made it as though he would have been won over by anyone.
I guess they also really
There's more to
spoon-fed that the Bene Gesserit were doing it, because it's not that overt in the book.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fair enough. It's not the worst thing ever.
Yeah. I think overall there was more spoon feeding, but that was to be expected, so I didn't even. Well, Matty's got big plans tonight without me, so I think we're all done here. I just feel awkward about doing my outro.
Yeah, fair enough. You could go into a different room, I guess.
No,
'cause you're
I was here first.
At 6 PM on a Friday, so you know. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have had a lovely week, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.